He was even starting to wonder if this South African full-time model and part-time Mossad computer hacker could be the one. And that was why he hadn't wanted her to be a part of this operation. It was too dangerous. Nicole wasn't an operative. She'd never even shot a gun outside of a firing range. The closest she'd ever come to any sort of danger was as a target in a gun battle in South Africa before she was even part of the Mossad. Putting her in country like this without any kind of ops experience could get her imprisoned or even killed. He had tried to persuade Sadek to remove her from the operation. When that didn't work, he'd yelled and cursed at the man. Finally, his superior had thrown him out of his office, threatening to pull him from the operation if he couldn't control himself. Besides, he'd kept running up against the wall that told him Nicole's being a part of their team made perfect sense. She wasn't an Israeli, and her tech skills were essential for the success of the plan. But she was in Iran, the den filled with the most vicious of lions. There were so many what-ifs, and each one led to an even nastier conclusion than the last. As it turned out, though, his fears had been unfounded, so far. Realizing his only caloric intake since last night had been a cup of sweetened coffee now and then, Nir reached into one of his cargo pants pockets and pulled out a power bar. Although it was 11 degrees Celsius and rainy outside, and not all that warm in the safe house either, the bar was soft from his body heat. He took a bite, closed his eyes, and breathed deeply. 20 minutes later, any serenity he'd achieved disappeared in an instant. Life had indeed swung its fist and delivered a direct hit. Chapter 2. 8 hours earlier, Tehran, Iran, January 31st, 2018. 22:15 hours, 10:15 p.m. IRST. Nicole shivered as she slipped the gloves off her hands. It was below freezing outside, and the van's metal shell wasn't doing much to keep out the cold. Unfortunately, running the engine for the heater would draw undue attention, so she had to depend on layers of clothing and body fat to keep her core temperature up. She was wearing plenty of the former, but she was sorely lacking in the latter. Holding her bare hands against the bay of computers in front of her, she soaked in the meager warmth they emitted. 3 others sat in the van, the driver and 2 techs, all men. One tech oversaw communications. The second, the only other English speaker in the vehicle, monitored the picture from a small camera placed across the street from the target warehouse. A 5th member of their team in this secluded location was standing in the shadows outside, making sure no one happened to stumble over the thin wires that connected the van to the security system of the building next to them. Their target's alarm system wouldn't be difficult for her to hack, but because it was connected into a closed system, it couldn't be accessed from the outside. The internet was no use, nor were phone lines. The only way to get control was to go to the building itself, or to one of the 4 other government-owned structures that were part of the same security loop. And it was for this reason that Nicole found herself in an Iran Khodro diesel van icebox with these 3 Azerbaijani Mossad agents in the suburbs of Tehran. "Okay, Julia, roll the dice." Immediately upon hearing Sadek's order over her headset, Nicole began typing on her keyboard. This was her cue to shut down the alarm to the warehouse. Her fingers ached from the cold, but they warmed as they flew. 7, she called when the job was done. Although the alarm was now disengaged, to anyone monitoring the system it would appear fully armed, as normal. "Okay, gather your chips," Sadek said. With a few more keystrokes, Nicole tapped into the warehouse's internal cameras and began recording. As she watched her monitors, she once again shook her head at the audaciousness of what the Mossad was about to attempt. Only the Israelis would try to pull off a heist this daring. But when Nir explained the purpose of the operation to her, it made